Never touch that curb. I've learnt my lesson. So in my quest to become a better driver and a quicker sim racer, I often find myself looking through YouTube channels and Twitch channels of content creators that race and provide sim racing content, just to get tips and all this kind of stuff, just to make myself a little bit more consistent and faster. Now, something I always notice myself doing is looking at all these guys and girls' gear and thinking, wow, that is a really cool piece of kit, or that's a cool wheel, or that's a cool rig. I want that. Now, for reference, I have a Thrustmaster T300 RS table clamped to a desk, and I've got one monitor, but it's perfectly fine for what I need at the moment. I don't need all this expensive gear just now. But it got me thinking, does that expensive gear make you a better driver? Does it make you faster? So today I decided to test out that theory. I decided to settle up on my rig and then hop over to try out some more expensive gear. Now, the place I'm going to be using to try out this expensive gear is a wonderful, wonderful, magical place called Rush Racing UAE. It's a dedicated simulator store place? I don't know what you would call it, but they've got 10 motion simulators, triple screen monitors, high powered performance PCs, Fanatec DD1s with cool that brand of pedals that I can't pronounce, but fantastic bits of gear really to immerse you in them. So I thought today I'll set a time on my simulator, and then I'll go over to Rush Racing and we'll see where I do the fastest time and whether the gear matters. So let's get into it. Okay, so here we are in Assetto Corsa with the McLaren 650S at the Nürburgring. That's the car and track combination. I really like this. Well, I like the McLaren 720, but that's not in Assetto Corsa. So we've gone with the 650S because I really like the McLarens, how they drive, and we've gone with the Nürburgring because it's a track I haven't driven in a while, so I don't know it completely, but I really like driving this track. So yeah, we're gonna set a half-an-hour timer because that's all the time that I will get at Rush Racing, and let's see what we can do. I forgot how nice Assetto Corsa looks with the content, what is it, the shaders patch and Sol installed. Look at that. Nice reflections, nice everything. Anyway, freezing cold tyres. So let's try and remember how to drive the Nürburgring. I don't know which one I'm actually driving. I don't know if it's the endurance chicane or the GT chicane. Can't remember which is which. There's one that's a really, really, really tight chicane, and there's one that's quite a fun, flowing chicane. So, we'll have to... ooh, a little bit wide there. We'll have to see which one this is. We're coming up on it in a brief moment, so we'll find out. Can we take the Shui S's flat? Maybe. Maybe I can do that. Gonna take some confidence to build that up. Oh, it is the tight chicane. Okay, I hate this one. I can never get the chicane right. I love the flowing chicane because you can carry so much more speed. Let's get started and try and set this time. So, down we go back, down the back straight, or the pit straight as you would call it. Not really sure where my braking marker is. Let's say about here. Gonna want to go down into first gear. Use the little drop off of that corner there. Feed the car round, not too much power. Adjust the little bit of a snap of oversteer down into second. Try and come back on this corner because you want to open up the second corner. You can use a lot of the track on the exit. The game doesn't really mind that. Most real drivers use that anyway. Fourth gear, probably brake down into third gear. Try and keep it to the left because you want to keep yourself set up for the next corner. Because the exit to this corner is pretty important because you've got a little bit of a straight down here into the hairpin. Braking about that top curb bit, I reckon. I'm giving you a guide of the track, like I know where my braking points are and everything, but it's gonna take me a few laps just to get acquainted again with the Nürburgring track. think the last time I drove this was in ACC, probably. I haven't driven it that recently in ACC. Probably braking it a little bit too early there and way too hard on the brakes. Turn as little as possible. And then on the brakes at about 150 meters. Off the brakes a little bit. Don't put the power on too early because then you're just going to spin out completely. Second gear, late apex, I think. And then onto the power. For a 207. 207 flat. Oh. I think I would have taken a... I think before this I was saying to myself that I would have taken... I would have been quite happy with... like 210s. That's what I was aiming for. So a 207. Quicker than I think around here. So seeing as we've done a... We'll call it a banker lap. And I'm going to keep driving as fast as possible here. Let's talk a bit about my setup. And what we're going to compare it to when we go into the proper simulator. So at the moment... I have a Thrustmaster T300 RS, I believe, with the T3PA pedal set. Now, for my level of sim racing, I think this wheel is completely fine. I've got the Ferrari Alcantara wheel attached to it, which I absolutely love. It's such a good size. Now, before owning this Thrustmaster wheel, I did have a Logitech G29. Now, not to bash the G29, I think the G29 is a really, really great wheel. I just never really got on with it. It was so noisy and so notchy. You know, when I was in the UK, I'd be playing it, you know, at later points of the evening, because that's when I game. And if you have roommates, it's a horrible noise for them to have to listen to while people are trying to sleep. So I never really got on, and I was playing on console, so my games were limited. It was mainly just GT Sport and Project Cars 2. So my enjoyment of the G29 was fairly limited. I mean, I did enjoy it because it was giving me that opportunity to drive race cars that I've always wanted to do. But since picking up the T300, I have just absolutely clicked with it, and it's just so much fun to drive. Especially in AC. I think AC I get the best... AC gives me the best force feedback out of it. This AC and AMS2 definitely give some of the best... I've overshot that corner so badly. Okay, this is a reference lap then. But yeah, AC and AMS2 really do give you some amazing force feedback that is just so much fun to race with. I'd say iRacing... The force feedback is good, I just haven't dialed it in correctly for me and for my setup. Now, one of the big things that I'm hoping to see the difference in with the full motion sim is not just the motion, but the pedals. Obviously, I'm using linear pedals at the moment, so no load cell. My pedals measure how much brake is put in by the distance that the pedal travels, which is not very accurate, compared to the load cell pedals, which measure in pressure, similar to a actual race car. So if I want to brake all the way and brake hard, I press the brake in all the way to the bottom. Doesn't matter how much pressure I put on. It just matters how far I push the brake pedal. With a load cell pedal, the more pressure you put in, the harder you'll brake. So if you only tap the brake, you're not going to go stopping yourself that much compared to if you really press down a lot of pressure. I've touched that sausage curb, but it's never a good idea in a McLaren, as I've learned from my many hours playing ACC. Do not touch any sausage curb with a McLaren. They were not meant to go over curbs ever. So yeah, I would say, although I am very close to moving over to Fanatec like every other sim racer in the world. Oh, power's gone down way too early there. With this video, I don't just want to look at lap times and say, well, whichever got the fastest lap time means that's the better solution. I'm looking at the whole experience, you know, because I am into no pretense that I'm going to be a professional sim driver or a professional racing driver. I do this because it's fun and because I like to feel immersed, and that's one thing a motion sim's going to give you that you're possibly not going to get from sitting on an IKEA chair with a wheel strapped to the desk. Anyway, I seem to be talking a little bit too much because my lap times are taking a slight hit. I'll tell you what though, this car and track combination is really fun to drive. This car just is really nice to drive. Never touch that curb. I've learnt my lesson. Okay, so here we go again for a flying lap. This time I'm concentrating slightly more and I'm going to do a little bit less talking. I don't know, I was holding my breath around that corner, but... Almost. Tried so hard, foot to the floor, to do that. Right, I reckon we've got time for about 2 more laps. See if we can beat that 106. Let's see. We'll take a wide entrance and cut back, see if that line works better. Oh, we've gone really wide, but let's run the curb on the exit. See how much you can use on the exit without it getting invalidated? Massive amounts. I'm down about 4 tenths actually. Those corners are a little bit quicker, but hook up that late apex. Now I know I can't go foot to the floor flat through here, but if you lift going up the hill, you can then just put the power down and pretty much, if you hold it steady and get the right line, flat. A little bit of a late apex there. Still 4 tenths down. Hook up that nice and early, you can get the power down pretty quickly. Looks like we're going to be about 4 tenths down, so it might still be in the 206 region, but not where I wanted to be, which was almost in the 205s is where I want to be. For what I reckon is be a really quick lap. Great exit on that corner. Oh, I did. Oh, I absolutely destroyed that at the end there. 205.9. Right, let's see if we can get one more lap in here. So let's use the curb and then a slight lift. Get the line right. If you don't, that'll happen. That's going to do it. So we finish with a 2 minutes, 5 seconds, 0.9. So, up next, off to Rush Racing, and let's see if I can beat that time. I'll catch you there. So here we are in the simulator. I'm doing this post-commentary because, you know, this is a public place where people can go play as well. So it'd be a bit weird if I just started talking to myself. Also, it is really loud, so even if I did try to do live comm over this, you probably wouldn't be able to hear it. So I've turned the volume down quite a lot for you. Big thanks to Rush Racing for streaming my practice session so that I can use the footage, and for letting me sit in there with my GoPro. So I got some footage because I realised that I couldn't replicate the same filming setup that I have at home. So let's talk about the experience of driving in the motion simulator. So it takes a few laps definitely for me to get warmed up. It's a wildly different experience from being at home sat on an IKEA chair to going in, sitting in a proper chair with wind simulation, triple monitors. It's a little bit disorientating at first. It takes me quite a few laps just to get going. In only a half an hour session, you need to make the most of the laps that you have. So, you know, it takes me a while. A few key things that I wanted to point out. You'll notice as I show footage throughout this, compared to my session at home, is that I didn't go off track once. I didn't really have to correct any slides that much. I was pretty much in full control of the car, and I think that's very much down to the feedback that I was given from the Podium DD1 or DD2 that they have. You just have so much more detail in the feedback that the wheel gives you that I'm so much more in control, and I can drive the car much more on the limit. Basically, there's no surprises when I lose. There's no opportunity for me to lose a little bit of force feedback and the car moves in one direction and I have to quickly correct a slide or something like that. You just have all the information there you need to be able to control the car properly. Secondly, with the pedals. Okay, the pedals take a long time to sort of get used to because, you know, they've got load cell and they're heavier, and it is a warming up process that takes, but you can be so much more accurate with your braking because you can trail brake a little bit easier, you can start braking a little bit later. But all of this is very different to what I'm used to experiencing in my setup, so it does take a few laps. So my first few laps were sort of 210s and stuff like that, so completely useless, but you know, even if I'm not faster in the sim than I was at home, just the experience of having triple monitors, wind simulations, motion sim, feeling the traction loss when you put the power down too early, it's just unrivaled. Would I have something like this at home? No, because I think it'd be exhausting driving this every day, but absolutely fun. If you ever get the chance to go try out something like this, the experience is just unbelievable. And if you are in Dubai and you want to try something like this, go check out Rush Racing because the guys are wonderful. They're absolute superstars. They're really, really helpful, and they all seem to really enjoy this kind of stuff. Lovely people. Go check them out, and really, really reasonably priced, and a great thing to do when it's extremely hot outside. Anyway, so I didn't want to bore you with talking through the TV footage of my lap, so what we're going to do is we're going to go on board with what I think is my fastest lap. I think this was my fastest lap. Anyway, so we come up to the final chicane, down the gears into second, absolutely destroy that curb, and as we've learnt, you do not touch sausage curbs in McLarens. Anyway, cool shot here. The benefits of having the replay camera is that, you know, you get slightly cooler shots here. So we're going to go on to the home straight, and because they've got loud, you know, you've got the speakers coming out there, the noise as you're firing down this straight with about 600 brake horsepower underneath you. Oh, it's just awesome. You can feel it in the wheel. Anyway, brake hard at about 100 meters down into first gear, clip that corner nicely. Experimenting here quite a lot with second and third gear. Really using that curb on the exit. Brake hard here, trail off the brakes as you go round the corner, keep it tight on the left hand side so you open up the next right hand corner. Did that quite nicely there. Little bit of a slip of the back end as I tried to put the power down too early. The replay cameras in this set, of course, are just cool. Look at that. That looks like a genuine onboard lap thing. I've got to say, I don't think they're running Sol, so obviously at home the weather, you can see the comparison. The weather looks so much nicer in my game than it does here, but you know, that's a lot of mods and all this kind of stuff attached to my game. Anyway, we come down to the hairpin, braking at about the top of the curb, although I did start to realise I could probably brake a lot later there, staying tight on it, and then foot to the floor on exit. Didn't spin out once at the Shoei S's at all. Like I said, full control of the car, unlike my probably about 9 spins at home on the Shoei S's, because my force feedback was clipping, and then I just lose all control of the car because I can't feel the car underneath me. Oh well. Right, into the left and the right before we go on to the straight. Tell you what though, my arms were hurting after this. The force feedback, I mean, what does a T300 puts out? Something like, I don't know, 4 or 5 Newton meters of torque? The DD1s are pushing like 20. It's insane how much power that these wheels put out. It's kind of terrifying. Anyway, we come to the chicane for the last time. This is the big question. This is my fastest lap. Will we do better than a 2:05.9 that I did at home? Round the final corner, down into third gear, down into second as we power out. Get that foot to the floor, get the traction down, get the power down. What is it going to be? As we cross the line, it is a 2:07.0. A 2:07.0. So, not as quick as it was. We're about 1.5 seconds slower. So, what have I just proved here? Have I proved that you don't need to buy expensive gear and that everyone should just go out and buy a Logitech G29 and race on that, clamped to a table for the rest of eternity? No more rigs, no more direct drive, no more load, cell, pedals? Not exactly. I mean, yes, I did a faster time on my much cheaper hardware with a wheel clamped to a table. But that's not the point, is it? The point is, what did I have more fun on? Because, let's be honest, we all get a little bit too over the top with, oh, I'm a sim racer, it's basically real racing. No, it's not. This is something we do for fun. Now, did I have more fun in the proper simulator with the triple screens, the direct drive? Of course I did. It was so much more fun. It was way more immersive, and I felt like I was driving a race car. Now, is it worth the amount of money it costs for a whole one of those? For me, no. I don't have that kind of money. I wouldn't pay it. But for someone, it is. And for me, direct drive is... And I think that's the point, is that, okay, I'm faster on something that I spend 4 hours a day driving compared to something I just went in cold and drove half an hour for. Yeah, of course I'm going to be faster. But I had way more fun on the motion sim. And that's what it's all about. It is about fun. And what do you feel more immersed in? Give me 4 hours a day on that motion sim, I'm going to become quicker than I am on my Thrustmaster. You know, you will just be faster. But it's whatever you can afford, and it's whatever you can have fun with. Sim racing's about having fun and everyone enjoying themselves. Really, at the end of the day, we like going fast in things that we can destroy. So would I say gear's worth it? To make you faster, you're always going to be limited by your own ability. Practice on what you have. If you only have a Logitech or a Thrustmaster, practice. There are people that are winning sim racing world championships with that equipment. If you can afford the nice equipment and it's not going to bother your bank account, then get it. Get whatever you want. But you should focus on your driving before you start thinking of gear. Anyway, I'm going to do exactly that now and go practice my driving because I can definitely be quicker. Anyway, thanks for watching. I know this has been a slightly long video. If you enjoyed it, drop me a subscribe or a like, and until then, I will see you next time.